Today's episode of the Bill Simmons podcast is brought to you by ZipRecruiter.com. Your company is only as good as the people you hire. When you're short-staffed, there's no time to deal with all the different job sites. Until now. Thanks to ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100 plus job sites with one click and have the best chance of finding that perfect candidate. You can instantly be matched to candidates from over 6 million resumes. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/BS. Today's episode is also brought to you by HBO because they were kind enough to give me my own television show that launches next spring. Thank you, HBO. On November 7th, HBO is showing a boxing doubleheader that's headlined by Brandon Rios battling Timothy Bradley. That's followed by a brand new 24/7 episode for the Canelo Cotto fight. Oh yeah, who doesn't love 24/7? Yeah. It's un-American. HBO, Saturday night. Be there. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Clear enough for you?
Joe House is on the line.
Can you picture us?
He had a good week
Friday
last
shotgun.
week. Are you eating chicken parmesan? Does it taste good?
It does taste good.
So I made fun of you last week about how I was killing you in football picks and then proceeded to have one of the worst weekends of my life. And fortunately, I did not wager on it. Our big disagreement was the Broncos versus the Packers. Your rationale was just that the Broncos were getting points and chicken parm tasted so good, but somehow that was good enough. Congratulations.
It was good enough. I mean, the defense was the real rationale, and the defense came through.
Defense did come through.
I wasn't counting on the Broncos having their best offensive performance of the season, which was a nice bonus. But
well, I forgot this. I should have remembered because it was basically November 1st when those Sunday games happened. November is when stuff shifts. There's two seasons. There's the September-October season, then November-December. That's when we find out who the good teams are. I don't know what to make of that Green Bay performance. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days. Might just be a throwaway. Might just be a let's not get too bent out of shape. It happens. National TV, Denver got off to a good start. They played well. It's Green Bay lost. Don't freak out. What do you think?
We're going to find out because they're playing another very good football team this coming weekend. You and I both have a little bit of action on this one, and I don't mean to jump right into it. But the thing that's concerning about Green Bay is they give up a ton of yards on the ground. They have one of the worst rushing defenses in the league, and this split season thing, teams running the ball, here as the weather gets cold and starts to the playoffs come into view a little bit, they need to figure out a way to stop the rush.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to this game. We got to rip through the other ones first, but I'm in Aaron Rodgers relax mode. I'm relaxed. Aaron Rodgers is looking at me right now. He's making that hand gesture. He's just like, relax. We got beat on a Sunday night. It's fine. It's November 5th. We're good. We should mention we're taping this on a Thursday because our producer, Tate, is going back to Carolina for the weekend. And that means that we do not know what happened on this Thursday game. And there's a possibility we might not ever know what happened to Tate because who knows if he'll come back. So this could be the last podcast I ever do. I hope Tate comes back.
What's Tate doing in Carolina?
And he's going back to see his homies. Yeah. He's going back to do his thing. He's Tate.
I hope he has some barbecue. I love Carolina barbecue.
Young. If Tate says anything about me to any of his friends there, any personal stuff that turns up on Twitter, I'm going to fly to Carolina and beat his ass is what's going to happen to Tate. So I'm just telling you right now. Tate, don't get Tate drunk. Don't make Tate say things about the new people in his life or I'll find all of you. One other thing I should mention, I did a podcast with Gladwell and we were talking about Grantland and all that stuff for a while. And I mentioned how they had hired 3 editors and Juliet Littman. And that came off as like Juliet wasn't super important. Juliet's like the most important person in my life other than my wife right now. And she's a strategist / big picture editor / all these things. And I heard it after the fact. I was like, damn, it almost sounded like I was marginalizing Juliet. I'm not going to do that. I love Juliet.
Don't diss Juliet.
No.
She's a savant. She's a cultural savant.
Yeah, she's the best. I love Juliet. So I just wanted to make that point. I love Juliet. And obviously I did because she was one of the first 4 people I hired. She's either employee 1, 2, 3, or 4. I don't know. We got to do, how the startups do the employee number blank? So I got to figure out who was employee number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
They should draw straws.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sounds fair.
Juliet for life. And Juliet will be heard from on a podcast because we're going to put together a little pop culture podcast that we're starting mid-November, and she will be on that. You'll get to hear her thoughts. There's a new challenge season coming up.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yeah.
What year is this?
I don't know. We'll never be too old to either get excited for a nude scene on HBO or to be excited for the challenge. Those two things will always be in our lives. Don't ever let anyone tell you wrong.
I'm good for about one challenge, per season now. I watch one or two of them, but I'm always excited for the new one, just to see the format.
How many nude scenes are you excited for? Like 100 to 150?
Infinite.
I would say
it begins
unlimited.
with an I and ends with a finite.
Okay.
Infinite.
So, let's have a laugh and pick the Thursday night game wrong, since this is a futuristic podcast. People are hanging on Friday. I think the Bengals are going to kill the Browns. What do you think?
I think the Browns are going to cover on an 11.5 point spread.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the Bengals are 11.5. We'll see. One of us is right now an idiot, and neither of us knows who it is. Sunday, quickly, Patriots favored by 14 over the Redskins. Seems way too high. I don't know why anyone would bet this. I'd be shocked if the Pats lost. Do you have any opinion?
14 is kind of exactly the number.
Yeah.
I would imagine. The thing that concerns me with Washington is
that's your team. Our teams are playing. I didn't realize.
I know, but once the DC Grudens, if Tom gets rolling, the Patriots might rip off 50 points, and Kirk Cousins on his best day is good for 30, 31, 32.
You like that? You like that?
I mean, I it's a stay away game. I don't like all the Patriots giving all those points, but I wouldn't touch it.
I want to be up by 14, and then I tell Gronk to take off all his pads and just get away from the field, and get away even from the part of the field where a tackler might roll into his ankles. Just get him out. He's sitting on the bench.
Leave the stadium.
Yeah, put him in the stands. Put him in like the second row. Saints Titans. Saints giving 9 to the Titans. New Titans coach. I should mention, you guys out there shouldn't ever forget the part that I'm a huge idiot, and I added wrong with the Ken Wisenhunt records. On Monday, in Monday's podcast with Sal, I said he was 6-44 his last 50 games. I just added wrong. He's actually 4. He was 4-31 in his last 35 games. I counted his 2-14 season twice because, again, I'm a moron. House, you've known me since 18. There's a few people are dumber than I am.
Math is not your strong suit.
Right. So, so he was 4-31. Now he's gone. No tears shed, I'm sure, by the Titans fans. That's a lot of points, though. Who'd you like in that one?
I don't know who's playing quarterback. Have they said for sure one way or the other?
I think it's Vince Young. I think he's back.
if it's Vince Young,
no, he's
then
back.
I like the points. I'll take the points.
Okay. If it's not Vince Young, you're grabbing the points?
No, I would only be interested in grabbing the points if Mariota's playing quarterback.
I think Warren Moon is playing. All right, quickly, 3 more. Giants 2.5 at Tampa. I don't know yet. I want to talk myself into Tampa for this. I do feel like this has checkers match potential between Coughlin and Lovie Smith, because Coughlin 4 games a year just goes into a coma, and Lovie Smith's been in a coma since 2013. So that scares me. I do like the Bucs team a little bit. They're a little frisky. What do you think?
They are frisky. I like the Bucs also. I wouldn't take them in this situation. The game's too important for the Giants. They can't lose back-to-back games.
Yeah.
With the position they're in the NFC East, it's a pretty tenuous first place hold that they have at the moment. They can't lose to Tampa.
Yeah. So the Giants are 4-4. They have at Tampa this week. Next week, New England. Then a bye week.
Yeah.
Then they go at Washington, Jets, at Miami, Carolina, at Minnesota, Philly. So
they can't be 4-6 going into the bye.
And Brady might. Well, I don't want to get too confident. I put it this way: as I watched Drew Brees score 7 touchdowns against the Giants, I had some ideas. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Falcons -3. Over Blaine Gabbert and the 49ers. And what's amazing about the Colin Kaepernick era is that I feel slightly more confident picking Blaine Gabbert than I do about Colin Kaepernick at this point, which is just a cry for help for everybody involved. I feel bad. I feel bad for Kaepernick. I feel bad for Jamie Foxx because Willie Beeman was really the prototype to Kaepernick. I feel bad for Niners fans. I don't feel bad for Jed York. I don't feel bad for Jim Harbaugh. But I kind of like the 49ers in this game. I'll talk myself out of it. Don't worry. Who do you like?
So wait a second. This was one of my games.
Oh, it was?
I
All
had
right.
the line,
Well, hold it.
I had the line at 7. You said 3. Where did you see 3?
I don't. I wrote it down. Hold that thought. We'll skip that one. Eagles -3 at Cowboys. I mean, well.
What's there to say? Taking the Eagles.
Sam Bradford versus Matt Castle, or Sam Bradford
Two of the
versus
greats.
Brandon Whedon?
Lordy.
This is awful.
It just doesn't matter. Poor Dallas.
You hate Dallas.
I
You're a
hate
Washington
Dallas.
fan. Of course, you
F
love
you,
this.
Dallas. I hope they lose every game. It is, unfortunate. They came in with a footprint that I thought was going to be successful this year. I kind of like Dallas to repeat as a division winner. And then the injuries derailed the whole season, and I hope they lose every single game for the rest of the season, and I'm picking the Eagles.
Well, at least they have some good guys in their team. I might talk myself into the Cowboys by Sunday. I do not have an opinion yet. All right, let's get to the games we do like. Every week we pick 5 games. I think I went 2-3 last week. Unfortunately, those are my only 2 wins out of the entire slate for the week. You did better.
You took it on the chin on the whole slate.
I took it right on the chin. Let's talk about a game we mentioned already. Falcons 49ers, 7-point line for the 49ers. You just got an extra 4 points with Blaine Gabbert.
So that's the crazy thing is the line opened at 4.5, and the public went bananas and pushed it up to 7. And normally you stay away. That's so much value being pumped into the line there.
Yeah,
by
it's a fake line.
The public. Yeah, exactly. And the pure contrarian play absolutely positively is on the 49ers. There is no scenario under which you will find me ever wagering on Blaine Gabbert. He is 3-11 straight up against the spread at home as a starter in the National Football League.
Yeah.
He has a nice losing streak, 7 straight up and against the spread losses in a row in that home position. He is 1-10 straight up and against the spread in those same games against teams that are 500 or better, like the Atlanta Falcons. The 49ers offense is dead last in the NFL. And there's a great Matt Ryan angle. Matt Ryan is 8-0 against the spread, playing with revenge after a straight-up loss as a favorite. Going all in on the Falcons.
Okay. I'm staying away. If I had to pick, I'd probably stare at it for a while and then realize I was picking Blaine Gabbert and go the other way. But I don't like anything I'm seeing from the Falcons. They just seem really mediocre. And a team that's let a lot of mediocre to bad teams kind of hang around week after week after week now for 5 weeks.
That Titans game still in the mouth tastes bad. Still there.
Yeah.
Still tastes bad.
Little aftertaste. Little like having like that second Bloody Mary where they put too much pepper in it and just can't get that skank taste out of your mouth. I'm going with, this is one of my picks, the Bills -3 over the Dolphins in Buffalo. I like the spot for Buffalo coming off a bye. They're getting a little more healthy. My whole thing with the Dolphins is this. I think if you throw weird looks at Tannehill, he just completely falls apart. Nobody's better on the earth at coming up with weird looks that may or may not work, but he's going to try them anyway than Rex Ryan. And they already beat this team once. I watched the game. I just think it's a good matchup for them, so I'm taking Buffalo in Buffalo. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm taking Miami because I think the line should be like 1.5 or 2 at best.
Okay.
But Buffalo has been craptastic the last month or so. The defense has not been anywhere near what everybody expected it to be this season, and I like Miami playing with revenge after getting their ass handed to them in Week 1 with old Joe Philbin at the helm. So I'm taking Miami just because of the I think it should be closer to 1.5 or 2.
Not one of your bets though.
No.
Here is one of your bets. Green Bay and Carolina. We talked about it a little bit before. Did Aaron Rodgers get you to relax?
He didn't, as a matter of fact, because he doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, they have a bottom 5 rush defense this season, the Green Bay Packers. I love Carolina getting points at home. Carolina is 11-0. Let me repeat that. 11-0 in the regular season over its last 11 games. And yet they're getting points at home. I like that position. I like getting points.
I wish I liked anything I saw from them on Monday night. They gave up like 20 in the fourth quarter to Indy, 17 or 20. And, man, it's just their skill position guys. Did you see that stat how Kaepernick, by old school traditional stats, had actually better stats this season than Cam Newton?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. But that Ted Ginn dropping the game-winning touchdown, that you can't have guys like that in deciding positions. We've all seen Ted Ginn. We've watched Ted Ginn. That can't be like a guy who needs to make big plays for you.
I'm telling you, this Carolina team is all smoke and mirrors. They continue to have this tremendous run of winning games against bad teams. This is the first. Now Seattle winning the game in Seattle the way they did. That was a legitimate, wow kind of win, and I love the way that they won it. I am taking Carolina here because they're the best rushing team in the NFL. They're at home getting points. And they are going up against a bad rushing defense, and that's it. But it would not surprise me one bit if Aaron Rodgers, with his settle down, everybody approach to it, went out and beat the hell out of this team.
You're just babbling for like about 12 seconds there.
I'm just saying, it's a small. I'm counting the possibility.
It's a terrible
pick. It's not the wrong pick. I took him. It's one of my top 5.
I'm going to go this far. I'm not making one of my 5, but I am going to make this prediction. The Packers are going to win their next 6 games. 6 games. Carolina, home for Detroit, at Minnesota, home for Chicago on a Thursday, at Detroit on a Thursday, home for Dallas. They're about to go on a 6-game winning streak before they hit that at Oakland, at Arizona, week 15, week 16 vortex. So that's my little prediction.
The Minnesota game is at home?
Yeah, it's at Minnesota. I'm not afraid of Minnesota.
Oh, it's at Minnesota?
Here's how unafraid of Minnesota I am. This is one of my picks. Rams +2 in Minnesota. I don't get Minnesota. I don't understand it. The 6-2. Are they 6-2? They're 6-2. Is that possible? 5-2. No, they're 5-2. 5-2 is ridiculous for them. I all due respect to the Viking fans, long-suffering bunch. My best man in my wedding, Jeff Gallo, diehard Viking fan his whole life. I always hope good things for the Vikings. I don't see it. I can't imagine them being 6-2. From what I'm watching, I don't see it. So I'm taking
Chicago
the Rams.
gift wrapped last week. 10 points in the last minute.
Gift wrap. Had the game. Over. Had 2nd and 17 on the 9-yard line for Teddy Bridgewater. He goes 91 yards. I like this Rams team. In fact, let's make our little announcement, House, about the Rams.
Yeah.
Are
we announcing this? This isn't going to jinx it?
No, we'll jinx it.
Go ahead, announce it.
You, me, and Sal have formed. We formed a startup company, and that startup company is called. We're all in on the Rams at 20-1 to win the NFC. And we have made a venture capital investment in the future of the 2015 Rams.
Not insubstantial investment.
No, we are in on the Rams. I believe in the Rams. I think they could get there. I don't like anyone in the NFC. You can't tell me there's a good NFC team. There's like 8 teams that could make the Super Bowl in the NFC right now. So why not the Rams? Rams D, Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is the most exciting running back now that Le'Veon Bell's out. He's the most exciting running back in the league.
Take us home, Todd Gurley.
Yeah. Farewell year before Stan Kroenke moves them to LA, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is such a great year they end up staying. So I got the Rams. I think they're a very good football team. I don't love the quarterback situation, but I feel that way about half the teams in the league. I think they can run the ball, play defense, make some special teams, and kind of get going and get better as the season goes along.
They really have 2 skill offensive players, and one of them is neither of them is a quarterback.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Which is slightly concerning.
Stop talking me out of this.
It was fun venture capital.
Stop talking me out of it. And I'm making you take the Rams as well, since we just took them at 20-1. You might as well take them in this game. Next one, Steelers, Raiders, at Pittsburgh, no Bell. A lot of buzz now about the Raiders. Are they a playoff team? Wild card team? Raiders are good. Oh my God, look at the Raiders. They can throw the ball. Who do you like in this one?
I love the Steelers in this one.
I knew you would. I can predict all your picks now.
Well, I mean, you should beat me. That if you can pick them, then you should beat me once in a while.
Can I imitate why you took this one?
Go ahead.
People are way too high in the Raiders, and people are way too low in the Steelers. And people are down on the Steelers because Bell got hurt and Roethlisberger's wearing a knee brace, and they blew that game last week. And this is a perfect spot. Pittsburgh at home. You probably have some stat about how good they are at home after a loss, right?
Pretty good. Yeah, you got it. You got most of it here.
What did I miss?
I think that you didn't miss anything. There's a little angle here. The Raiders are just 2-11 straight up and against the spread in games after they've won 2 consecutive games, which is a pretty rare thing. When's the last time the Raiders won 2 consecutive
Jack
games?
Gruden was coaching.
The Steelers' defense is pretty good.
They are.
Just held the Bengals to the lowest yardage of the season.
I got to say, I watched that game. I had all 4 TVs going. And the Bell injury changed that game a little bit.
Sure.
It was a classic punch in the mouth AFC North game. And the Bell thing, it was a bummer. It happened right in front of one of the sidelines. You knew he was hurt right away, and it threw him off. And then Dalton threw that pick near the end, and it looked like the Steelers were going to get momentum. Here's my fear with this, and this is why I'm taking the Raiders, even though I know it's an anti-contrarian pick. And I agree with your logic for everything. First of all, I think the Raiders might actually be good. And people aren't baking it. This isn't one of those, oh, they look good. Oh, let's get excited. Oh, they're going to kick us in the nuts. Second, I don't think Roethlisberger's healthy. He looked terrible in that game. Did you watch that game?
Well, you know, this has been going on. We talked about this last week on the pod. Roethlisberger in his games back from injury is now 2-5 against the spread. There is this tendency, I think, with him because he's such a big bear. He's such a big son of a bitch. I love him. He probably comes back a little too early.
He might.
And I think that's what that stat's all about.
He stunk in that game. I was not impressed, but I knew he was hurt. You could tell. It was just like Luck a couple weeks ago. You knew Luck was hurt the way he was throwing the ball. So we disagree on this, but I will say I think the Raiders are pretty good. And one of the things that I like about them is that they can throw the ball. They can come from behind. If they're down 10, they can actually throw the ball and try to get back in the game. I have the Bears +4 in San Diego, and I got to say I don't totally understand this line. I don't think the Bears are. Maybe I'm on drugs. Am I on drugs?
I think
Did
you might be on
water?
drugs.
Tate roofied my water. I don't think the Bears are bad. Look at their last 4 games. They beat the Raiders, which turns out that's a pretty good win. They beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs haven't lost since. They lost to the Lions in OT, and that was a stupid game. I watched that game. The Bears should have won that. And then the Vikings beat the Bears in the last minute, and the Bears should have won that. They played well for 4 straight weeks. So why can't they go into San Diego? It feels like too many points
to me.
Yeah.
If it was just charged by 2.5, then I could talk myself into taking the Chargers. But the extra 1.5 to the Bears doesn't seem to make any sense. I like the Bears also. The Chargers,
they're banged
home
beyond
field
banged up.
advantage.
Yeah,
and it goes in the other direction. We've talked about it each and every time we've talked about San Diego at home.
Yeah,
it's 0. It's 0 points. It's not 2.5 for the Chargers. It should be 0.
It's a home field disadvantage. Yeah, this year they beat the Lions by 5 at home. They covered that. Did not cover Browns, which they won at home. They got killed by the Raiders at home, and they got killed by the Steelers at home. Wait, before we have any more picks, if you're going to someone's house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, why not bring them a delicious porch pie? Oh,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's our live read, porch pie. It's
my God!
It's a Southern delicacy that might change your life. You know, has there ever been a bad situation for the word Southern delicacy? Because I can't think of one. No. Hey, House, do you like buttermilk pie?
You've got me speechless now. I had no idea this was coming. You said there was a surprise. Here's the thing about our friendship. One of the things that I like the most about our friendship, when you introduce me to something like this, you make sure that it becomes a part of my life. So every single time that I've been to LA since the Simmons house and porch pies got married, there has been a porch pie in the house that I can come and savor.
You've made sweet love to many porch pies.
Especially buttermilk.
Buttermilk. How about the chocolate chess?
It's always 1A to buttermilk is number one.
You know what I really like? The Southern pecan.
It's a great one.
Pecan
Another
pie.
great one.
Mixed berry crumble. Sweet potato is in season right now. These are the tastiest pies I've ever had. House, did you know this? They even have a monthly pie club.
Oh,
You can join a pie club. You pay a membership, and every month they mail you a pie. And they will ship.
I know what I'm getting for Christmas.
Yeah, and they'll ship anywhere to the United States. So go to porchpies.com. Pies. That was my favorite live read we've ever done. I'm really, really excited
That was
about that.
mine too, and I had no idea it was coming.
Porchpies.com.
I interjected myself right into there.
You know what it is?
Porchpies.com.
It's
my
pie
Christmas
season. It's
present.
pie season.
It is pie season.
We should have to wear like special colored clothing, like we do like the NFL does during October. For pie season, we should have to wear what would be the color for pie season?
A beautiful chocolate chest, or something the color of crust. What would you
Crust,
say is
like a
nice
crust color. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should wear crust colored ribbons for Pie Month. It's so delicious. I can't wait to have a porch pie.
I can't wait to have a porch pie.
I gain like 4 pounds every Thanksgiving, which some people
Pie of
would
the
say
month
I need.
club.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Pie of the month. Porch
Come
pies.
on.
All right, couple more picks, and then we'll do NBA. Denver, Indy. Indy's getting 6.
I'm not going to sing this week.
It's in Indy.
I'm not going to do it.
It's in Indy. Indy's firing
Yeah.
people. They're not firing the coach or the GM. It was all the offensive coordinator's fault.
It was his fault. They gave up. Field goal in overtime. I'm taking Indy.
I figured. It's too high. Too
Yeah.
many points. And
Too many points. That's it.
luck is. I was trying to think of. This is how sad my life is. On Sunday night, I was on YouTube looking for songs that had backdoor in them to be like Andrew Luck's theme music, and I came up with Backdoor Man.
I'm afraid of where that took you. That search.
Well, fortunately, it didn't take me into. I had the things on, the red flags on, so it was only going to certain spots on YouTube. But Backdoor Man by the Doors, I think, should be Andrew Luck's theme song.
It's pretty
Because he has gone through the back door and covered. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's got to be over 10, right? In 4 years?
good. Oh,
he's-
sure.
In the last 2 minutes of a game, 10 covers?
One of the power stats for me on this thing, he's 7-1 straight up and 8-0 against the spread as a home dog. I like that. That's a good angle. 8-0 against the spread as a home dog.
And the other thing to remember with Peyton Manning and old quarterbacks in general, Gladwell and I talked about it a little bit this week in our podcast, but, they can get there every once in a while, but there's also going to be games where they're an old quarterback, and maybe this will be one of them. I didn't like it enough to pick it, but I respect the pick. Jets,
Well, this is also one. Peyton 1-2 straight up and 0-3 against the spread against his old team. Wouldn't have guessed that until I looked it up.
Jets, Jags.
So yeah, Jets Jags. You're going to be mad at me. I'm going to waffle on this. The line that I liked very much was the line that I sent you this morning that I saw overnight last night, which was 6.5. And you sent me back saying that it jumped all the way up to 7.5. And I like the game so much more at 6.5. I actually am not going to play it.
So why don't you jump on my Bears pick +4? Take that one.
Okay. I'll be over there with you on Bears +4. I like the Jets. The power ranking has them as about like a 7.5 point favorite in this situation, but the 6.5 was the action. That's where I was going to jump in with 2 feet. I'll jump on the Bears. I like the Bears in this spot.
All right, so we will stay away from Jets, Jags. I don't know who. If Fitzpatrick's hurt, but he's playing, that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
It also made me nervous. Like he's tired after his sex scene in The Affair on Sunday night. I don't know if you saw The Affair.
I missed this one.
Really vivid sex scene with Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick plays. Everyone thinks it's Joshua Jackson from Dawson's Creek. It's not. It's actually Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He's cold,
the
Ryan.
rancher. Yeah, he's cold.
Ryan Fitz.
All right, so here are picks. I have the Bills -3 at home over Miami, and I have the Rams +2 in Minnesota. We both have the Bears +4 at San Diego. Here's our disagreement of the week. You have the Steelers -4.5. I have the Raiders +4.5 in Pittsburgh. You have the Falcons -7 against Blaine Gabbert's 49ers. God, I should have taken that one. We also disagree on Packers Panthers.
We do.
Aaron Rodgers has convinced me to relax. I'm relaxed. You're not as relaxed. You're gonna join forces with Ted Ginn
I just
Sr.
like the best rushing team against one of the worst rushing teams.
So it's so hard to stop a rushing attack that can't pass. And then now I'm making fun of the pick. You're gonna beat me now because I did this last week and I swung the karma of the pick. It's a great pick. I'm probably wrong. And then you have the Colts +6 against chicken parm. It tastes so good. Okay. Let's go to NBA really quick.
Sure.
And I have to call my dad. My dad's upset. He's upset that he hasn't been on the podcast yet. He feels like I'm freezing him out. He feels like he hasn't told his side of the story yet about on July 31st, 2015, when he turned on Tom Brady for one morning.
Oh,
and,
no.
Yeah. So he did.
Yeah, you got to have the doc on. Is he upset that the Celtics are 1-3?
No, because we were in every game. I'll tell you one thing that's really exciting, both of us, to the point that it's actually, I'm more excited about this than I am to watch Celtic games. The Nets are terrible. They're 0-5, and we have their first pick, and it's unprotected. And this is a pretty rare situation in this day and age because everybody protects picks so well. The Celtics have the Nets unprotected pick. I'm going to swear. Cover your ears if you're in a car with your little kids. Cover their ears right now. I'm going to swear in 3, 2, 1.
Earmuffs.
The Nets are fucking terrible. They're fucking awful.
They're abominable.
They're awful. They're an awful team. And Joe Johnson, you can see the crows circling around his decomposing body. I don't know whether he's just washed up or whether he's just intentionally playing bad so they buy him out or whether he's lost the will to live. But I'm down to those three choices. And their best guy has been Brook Lopez, who's either going to get traded or he's going to get hurt. They have Jared Jack as the creator. There's a game.
This was the thing.
There's a game a couple games ago where Shane Larkin came in, and the announcers were all excited about Shane Larkin. Oh, Shane Larkin! It's like, are you kidding me? This team's terrible, and we have their first round pick. I'm excited, House.
We talked about the Nets in the over under pod.
Did you just go Phil Simms on me?
Huh?
You just went Phil Simms on me.
When you talk about the Nets, we did talk about the Nets. No, I didn't go Phil Simms. I don't think we literally talked about them.
That's what
we
Phil
did
Simms.
Talk about.
You just did a Phil Simms
as a verb. We do.
Okay.
We did talk about them.
Yeah.
We talked about Jared Jack and what an extraordinarily bad point guard he is.
He's fine if he's your fourth guard.
Yeah. All the advanced metrics are extraordinarily unkind to him.
Very much so. They dislike him.
In a lead point guard position. I looked this up. I took the over for the Nets. I'm going to lose that one.
You took the over for the Nets?
I don't know why I did. I don't remember the thinking.
I think I made them one of my locks.
You definitely took the under. I know that much.
Is that possible? Hold on. I'm going to go through their schedule just really quickly because I'm not kidding when I say this. I'm more excited about this than anything else. It's to just watch a team go down in flames over the course of a season and have their first round pick. The last time we were in this situation, my dad and I, we had this is sad. This story is a sad ending. Just be prepared. Get the Kleenex out. We rooted against the 1985-86 Seattle Supersonics for the entire year because they traded Gerald Henderson there and we had their first round pick. And they stunk. And we looked at the box scores every night. And that was the year when there was like 7 envelopes and you could be any of the 7. There were no lottery odds. And the Celtics ended up getting the second pick. A couple weeks later, they won the title. And then the second pick is going to either be Brad Doherty or a man Lenny Bias.
Yeah.
I told you, it was a sad ending. I know. It's a sad ending. But it was really fun to root against Seattle that whole season. So here's Brooklyn really quick. This is rough. Ready? All right, so here's their winnable game. They're playing the Lakers on Friday night. Winnable.
Which is my favorite thing is that the Lakers are on TV. I feel like they've been on national TV for.
I know, it's great. Hold on, hold the Lakers side. I want to talk about them.
Okay, good.
At Milwaukee. This is their road trip. At Milwaukee, at Houston, at Sacramento, at Golden State. And then they come back home for the Hawks, Hornets, Celtics again, Thunder, Cleveland, Detroit. That's the end of their month. I mean,
there's like 2 winnable games in there.
They're going to be like 2-15.
Literally 2.
With their first round pick. All right, they're really bad. And if I'm the Nets, we talked about this a little bit the last time. I don't really know what I do if I'm running the Nets because it doesn't help them to tank. So what do you do? You could argue you bottom out this year and you trade Lopez, you buy out Joe Johnson, and maybe even trade Thaddeus Young, and you just completely gut the team and be terrible this season. Go Sixers for one season, throw away that pick, and then this summer try to regroup. But I don't think there's an answer. Do you think there's an answer?
You have to use those assets to get picks because there is no scenario under which they can rehabilitate from within. They can't wait around until they get picks again 4 years from now or whatever it is. So they need to get picks back for Lopez, and nobody's untradeable on that team. You kidding? They should trade everybody and try and get 10 first-round picks out of all of it.
Well,
they should definitely. They should get 2. They should be able to get 2.
Brook Lopez is worth a first-round pick. I would be mad if the Celtics didn't trade for Brook Lopez, but I would not give Brooklyn their pick back for him. I'd give him one of our other picks.
And Thad Young, to the right team under the right circumstances, could also be a mid to late first-round pick.
Let's talk about the Lakers.
Okay.
This team was assembled by somebody who was remember in No Country Old Men, the guy gets in the car accident at the end, the guy with the bowl haircut?
Yeah.
And his leg sticking out of his bone sticking out of his leg, and he borrows some kid's shirt or something. He just kind of limps off. That's the guy who assembled this Lakers team. He's basically has a severe concussion and thought it was a good idea to put D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, and Julius Randle with Roy Hibbert and Kobe Bryant. You have to have a concussion to think that's a good idea.
Well, speaking of having a concussion, their head coach is Byron Scott, and look, their stated goal and intention at this point of the season is to win games.
Right.
They're not going to go out and let these young kids, these good young assets that they've pulled together here, try and get some reps and get their legs under them a little bit at the
that
NBA
felt like a
level.
Julius Randle shot.
Oh, no, I love Julius Randle. I want him
get
to
your legs
play.
under him. Felt like a dig. I'm sorry.
My single favorite stat as it relates to the Los Angeles Lakers at this moment in the season, Kobe has one more point than attempts so far this season. He's like, 60 attempts and 61 points. It's the best thing ever.
And meanwhile, Steph Curry has more points than minutes.
Right. I mean, it's astonishing. Kobe's shooting 32% right now.
I had a couple, obviously, I'm ashamed to admit this, but I have some friends who happen to be Laker fans, and a couple of them emailed me, and they're like, can you believe this Kobe thing? And the answer is obviously, yeah, I actually can. It's his 20th season. What did you think? This was going to end well? This is a classic. You should have retired, but you didn't, and now this is going to be awkward until you realize you should retire. That's where we are now. He's played 20 years.
This is what's frustrating. If the point of this season is a farewell tour, then do it properly, do it right. Announce it that way, and then play the dude 14 minutes a game. You can't trot him out and play him like you're gonna try and win games with Kobe out there. He shot 2 air balls last night that were grotesque, awful shots. He hit the bottom of the backboard with his shot last night.
And defensively, he can't move and he can't guard anybody. And look, whatever. The guy's making $25 million a year. He deserves the right to go out on his terms. But to have him out there and Hibbert, who's slow, but then you have all these other guys who are kind of fun. And it does seem like there's some lineup that they could throw out there. You bring out that Tariq Black. Maybe a little Lou Williams. Like there's some sort of like small ball.
They could play up tempo.
Yeah.
Of course.
Where's that lineup?
They could. Right. What is that lineup? Where is that lineup?
I don't know. So
it's only been 4 games, so maybe we'll see it.
Yeah, I will say though, within a week, like you could do the blink test and have a couple thoughts. Like we both were in big on Houston. Here's what worries me when I watch them. It's Ty Lawson's team a lot of the time, and then the last 4 minutes it goes into James Harden mode. He does James Harden things, and Ty Lawson kind of runs over and stands in the corner. I'm Not sure that's the best use of Ty Lawson. I don't know if I like those guys together. I like Ty Lawson coming off the bench as like a change of pace energy guy. As a crunch time guy, I don't know. I don't know if that when I watch him, I don't know if all the pieces make sense yet. Now, the flip side is that team is just poised to make some sort of monster trade in 2 months. So I'm not going to get too bent out of shape, but just the blink test is I didn't like those two together. What did you think?
Since I want to be glass half full with Houston, we have a lot riding on it.
Yeah, we should.
My thought is, and I feel the same way about Boston. They're doing they're experimenting a little bit, which is what the beginning of the season is for. I don't expect to see Ty Lawson get all those crunch time minutes as the season develops and as the team's identity kind of rounds into form here.
Yeah.
I didn't like Houston losing all three of those first three games by 20 or more points. I did not enjoy that.
I didn't like the body language doctor did not like any of that stuff. So I had Houston as I thought Golden State was going to be 1A and Houston was going to be 1B during the regular season. I thought Houston was going to have a monster regular season. Now it looks like the Warriors are even more motivated than we thought they would be about all the luck stuff. And Curry's like out of his mind. Like Curry's just clearly the best guy in the league now. It's not even the guy game to game. It's just destroying people. It's must-watch TV. Clippers might be the second best team, though. And I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about them, what happened in the Golden State game on Wednesday night where they had the lead. Then they looked like typical Clippers again. Everybody got tight, and Blake started overpassing. Chris Paul was taking threes because there were no other shots, and DeAndre didn't want to get fouled. Like, I've seen that play before. I've been in that Broadway musical. And the difference, the thing that scared me was, so they needed a fifth guy for crunch time, right? And they go out, they get Lance, they got Paul Pierce, and take a big swing on Lance, and then Paul Pierce, veteran. I'm not saying Paul Pierce isn't going to be that guy, but obviously they want to ice him until April. But last night, or Wednesday night, we should say, Austin Rivers is out there at crunch time. I tweeted about it too. They spent this whole summer revamping the team. I actually think Austin Rivers has looked pretty good. Like defensively, he's been excellent. He can't shoot, but if that's your number 5 guy in crunch time, that makes me super nervous. What do you think?
It's the same thing we said at the beginning of the season in the over/under discussion. That is the big vulnerability of this team. They don't have another option for backup point guard to Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the idea was behind having him out there with the crunch time crew. It must have been some kind of defensive strategy.
PP looked old. I think they want to get 3 months out of PP, and that's it.
Yeah, which is fine. That's exactly what makes sense. And early, it is early in the season, so you don't need to be putting big pressure minutes on him. But why? Where was Lance? What's wrong with Lance?
See, I couldn't agree more. Because if you're not going to throw out Lance in that game, it's freaking early November. You're in Golden State. Like, just see what you have. See how he responds. Put him in a big moment and see if he melts down something. But I wanted to see him in that game, and I already know what I have with Austin Rivers. I don't know what I have with Lance. Almost feels like in a Golden State series, Lance could be the X factor potentially. I mean, remember, he's the worst player in the league last year for anybody who played like 25 minutes. But we've seen him do it in big games.
Yeah, he's not afraid of big games. He's crazy. He's out of his mind. And talk about, irrational confidence. You talk about irrational confidence.
Well, we were
talking about Lance Stevenson.
We were talking about crazy. So Golden State, clearly the best team right now. It could change in a month, but just right now, if you did a tournament right now, they'd be the 1 seed. I think the Clips would be the 2 seed. I like what I've seen from Toronto. I like they've kind of thrown the ball in the Jonas pile a little bit.
Yeah.
They got rid of Amir Johnson. They basically switched Amir Johnson for DeMar Carroll. Put a little more burden on Jonas. I liked it. I like skinny Kyle Lowry. I like the look of that team. I thought that was a good win for them. Beating
come from behind on the road at OKC. That is a good quality win.
Yeah, and then conversely, OKC, the defense on them, I don't know. I don't know if they can get stops. This was a problem for them last year, and they had guys missing. But now this year, their defense, they're not going to – I don't care how good Durant and Westbrook are, you still need to get stops, and they got to figure that part out. Early, though.
Yeah, it's early.
Not worried yet about OKC. The only other team, the Wizards.
Yeah.
Is Bradley Beal making a little maybe a mini leap, maybe a little tiny
This
hop.
is another one. This is one where I do the Aaron Rodgers. Let's relax.
Okay, good.
Let's just take it easy a little bit.
Okay.
Only because now look, he has picked right up off of the terrific playoff show that he put on last season. He's playing at a level where it's clear that he intends to be in the conversation for the All-Star game. He wants to be among the elite players at that shooting guard position, and he's certainly playing like it. The thing that's been the concern in the past is his durability, his ability to log, 32, 33 minutes a game and play 82. He hasn't played 82 yet. So I am hoping that what we see over this first 30 games is a little bit of reduced minutes management for him, because the important thing for him is to be healthy come playoff time. But it's very exciting to watch a guy on the brink of making the leap. I'm not going to say he's making the leap. I'm going to say he's on the brink of making the leap.
He's on the brink. That's why I said little hop. And he's only, I think, 22, right? 22 or 23.
Oh, he's so young. It's so
young.
good.
He's
I love
baby.
it so much. Come on.
You like your team. I feel like you don't text me and tell me enough how excited you are about your team. You've been waiting your whole life to have a fun backcourt.
It's 4 games. I just can't,
You have
and we lost
your backcourt's John Wall and Bradley Beal. Like you've
lost to the
freaking
Knicks
won the
on
lottery.
Saturday night. Lost to the Knicks Saturday night because Whitface insisted on having Jared Dudley in the lineup in crunch time, and Jared Dudley's legs aren't under him yet, so he was throwing brick balls at the underside of the rim from three-point range. That's okay. That's a schedule loss. It was on the backside of a back-to-back. They played Milwaukee and beat Milwaukee, came back at the end of last week. But, I try and be I'm trying early on in the season here to just be low-key about it all.
I think you
It's
should be.
exciting, though.
I think you should be more excited about the Beal Wall backcourt, and I think they need a nickname. And I think you're the man to come up with it. By Friday, next Friday, I want a nickname for those two.
There have been some efforts at it. I'll do some research and I'll come up with my own spin on it. You got it.
It should sound a little Chocolate City-ish.
I got it. I know. I'm on it.
I don't think it necessarily has to have their names in there. It should lend itself to a late 80s Costico Brothers poster.
There's been stuff like Hustle and Flow. I mean, we'll get it. Don't worry. I'm not saying that's it. I'm just saying there's some vibe out there. We'll get it.
Wall of BB? No.
No. This isn't. There have been efforts at doing this before.
All right. I thought every Friday we'd talk about the Sacramento Kings before you left, because they're my favorite team to monitor, other than the Brooklyn Nets. They're 1-4. They just lost their last 2 games by double digits. And on Wednesday, George Karl announced he was benching Ben McLemore, which seems like
Ben McLemore deserves to be benched.
Yeah. Well, he's 22 years old, and he was the 7th pick in the draft a couple years ago. And then they traded the guy they took with the 8th pick the next year. And now they have nothing to show for either pick because Ben McLemore's benched. They traded Nick Stauskas. Willie Cauley-Stein, he's playing 22 minutes a game. I'm trying to see, has he scored a basket yet? Yeah, I guess he has. He's got a couple. He's averaging, three. He's shooting 74% house on 4 shots. So
the only thing I would say about the last 2 performances for the Kings, DeMarcus is got a strained Achilles. So I mean, we can't get too crazy about it. McLemore was identified by all smart people as a true vulnerability in this lineup, and the guy who could have the shortest leash. And guess what? It was a pretty short leash. And that would be a position that Sacramento, because they're insane, might go out and try and improve. Somebody,
Avery Bradley?
What do you want in exchange for him?
I'm worried about Ben McLemore because you know how there's always only like 4 smart teams in the league?
Yeah.
Somebody's just going to steal him. Like, couldn't you see the Spurs stealing him? I've been saying this for like a year. The Spurs steal him for a protected first-round pick, some stupid deal. And then 2 years from now, he's on the Spurs for 12 years as like a centerpiece of him and Kawhi and 2 other guys. All of a sudden, he's great. Could totally see that happening.
That would be the very best thing that could happen to Ben McLemore.
So your panic button for the Kings this week doesn't sound like you're ringing it yet. What are you, like a 4 out of 10?
Yeah, I'm a 4. I'm not even close. This week in the Sacramento Kings, I'm a 4 out of 10.
On the Vivek meter?
On the Viv meter.
I'm like a 6.5. They benched
What?
They benched their 22-year-old shooting guard after 5 games. I'm at 6.5 already. I just want to give my 22-year-old lottery pick shooting guard a month to figure out
Let
if
the
he can play with my
DMC get
players.
healthy. The DMC's got a strained Achilles. Let him get healthy.
DMC needs to stay in the court.
Yeah, that's an important an important thing for this team's success this year.
I'm looking at the Boogies. God, I love Boogie. You don't think the Celtics can get him, right?
No, I don't. I don't think under any scenario at this stage now that Sacramento's going to trade him. They can't.
Would I want it? Let's say they called the Celtics right now and said they wanted the Brooklyn pick for him. What do the Celtics say? They want the Brooklyn pick
yes.
and David Lee for him.
How quickly? I mean, are you kidding?
I'm scared to give up the Brooklyn pick.
He's a top 10 talent in the league.
So Brooklyn pick straight up for Boogie.
Done. D-U-N. Done.
It actually would have to be the Brooklyn pick and David Lee for Boogie.
The double capital D, capital U, capital N. Without hesitation. Come on. What are you talking about?
How are they going to
Boogie's-
replace my enjoyment of watching the Brooklyn Nets every night? It's my favorite thing. My wife actually asked me the other day. She's like, "What's going on with you? Did you bet on them or something?" I was like, "No, it's a long story. I'm basically rooting against a group of guys I don't even know 3 or 4 nights a week for the next 6 months. Don't ask."
It's going to bring you so much enjoyment.
Don't
You're going
ask.
to enjoy it so much.
You know, I tweeted Ben Simmons after Nets losses, and he tweeted back at me a screenshot picture of him having created himself in an NBA Live video game, and the team was the Celtics.
Oh, that's so kind.
Yeah, I love that
That's
dude.
very, very friendly of him.
I love my Australian distant cousin, Ben Simmons. We'll be watching him in LSU soon.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It'd be good.
College basketball is right around the corner.
All right, House. I
Hey.
think we're good. Enjoy the
Good
weekend. Thanks for the best bets. Thanks for listening to me talk about the Brooklyn Nets. And thanks for listening to me talk about porch pies. I know
Thanks
you're
for
going to
putting porch pies in the mix.
I know you're going to go to bed at night dreaming about buttermilk porch pies. Oh, I might have to
Yeah,
send
it
you
was
one.
chicken parm last week. Tonight it's porch pies.
Joe House, peace.
Hey, good time.
We're going to call my dad, who has not been on the podcast since we relaunched it. But first, thousands of people who want home security systems get ripped off every day. They write huge checks and sign long-term contracts that don't give them any outs. Come on, people. Why deal with pushy salespeople and outrageous price tags? Simply Safe is different from those other companies. No sales pressure, no gotchas, no long-term contracts, and it won't take forever to get your home safe and secure. With Simply Safe, you get 24/7 protection for just $15 per month. $15 per month. That's less than half what companies charge. Half. And even better, you'll get their award-winning professional monitoring. So protect your home with an alarm I trust. Visit simplysafebill.com and get an exclusive 10% off just because you listen to the Bill Simmons podcast. That's right, you get 10% off. simplysafebill.com. Check it out. All right, as promised, he's fresh off serving a 4-week suspension for doubting Tom Brady. He's now officially allowed back on the Bill Simmons podcast. His name is also Bill Simmons. My dad, how are you?
I'm good, but I don't like how I was depicted 5 seconds ago.
It's the day you quit on Tom Brady.
I refused to go on the podcast because of how I was inaccurately portrayed by my son.
What was inaccurate about you saying, "Stop it"? Why would he destroy his cell phone? You sound like a homer. You yelled at me. You scolded me. I was in an elevator in Chicago. You're yelling at me.
But I think you misinterpreted. I was worried that what happened, what eventually happened, would happen because of the destruction of the cell phone, that people would misinterpret that, and I was angry at Brady for destroying the cell phone.
Oh, so you were angry at Brady. There you go. You were angry at Tom Brady.
I was angry at him for putting himself in the position that people wouldn't believe him because he, for whatever reason, destroyed the cell phone.
Well,
But-
I was
but
never
certainly
angry. was
certainly
never angry.
I never doubted that Tom Brady would certainly never do anything inappropriate with those footballs. I just wished he hadn't put himself in the position where the rest of the country doubted him more because of destroying that cell phone. And that's all I have to say on the matter. Anything else?
I was never angry at Tom Brady, and I always believed in him. So look, we'll agree to disagree.
Okay.
I don't ever remember being angry at my four-time Super Bowl quarterback.
Many times.
I was just
By the way, I'm very excited to be a guest on your new podcast, now called the Bill Simmons Podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to be a member of the HBO family.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It's good to hear that.
Am I paid for this? Or am I still a volunteer?
You're paid, and when eventually you just move into my house, and my family's taking care of you full time.
Okay.
20 years from now.
It won't be that far away.
We have a guest room ready for you.
Okay, good.
So, House and I were just talking about the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh,
how much
I
fun
love
it is.
the Brooklyn Nets.
I know how much fun it is to watch them lose week after week. We just went through their schedule. It looks like they're going to go like 2-15 coming out of the gate, and it's
You
fun
and I
to talk
haven't
about.
talked too much about the Nets, but obviously it brings me back to the 1985-86 season when every time you and I talked, whether it was in person or over the telephone, we'd talk about what did Seattle do the night before, because the Celtics had Seattle's number one pick. But, I was thinking there was such a major difference at that time. There was no internet.
Yeah.
And Seattle, if they were playing at home, played very late. And we couldn't get the scores, obviously, because you couldn't check them on the internet or on cell phones or anything like that. But the Boston Globe used to have that scores hotline that you could call at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And you could get the scores of all the teams that played late. And I can't remember how many times I would call that hotline at 6 in the morning only to hear one score, the Seattle basketball score.
Yeah.
I mean, we had so much fun that season rooting against Seattle, didn't we?
House and I talked about that. It has a sad ending.
Yeah, well, very, very sad ending. It not only for the person involved and his family, but probably for the careers of Bird and McHale, and maybe it cost us 2 or 3 championships.
Yeah, and some amazing games, too. I still haven't gotten over that. We're heading toward the 30-year anniversary of that draft, and I still feel like I can't believe what happened. I think it's going to be one of the last things I think about on my deathbed.
Well, and you guys, with your former employer, did that terrific 30 for 30 on the whole Len Bias story.
Yeah, that was
Although
one of
it
our
was
first ones.
extremely hard for me to watch that for the reasons you're mentioning.
Yeah. Well, Brooklyn, I hope it has a happier ending with the actual draft pick, but it's just fun to root against a team. And as you said, now you actually have League Pass, and they're on TV sometimes for where you are. I don't even remember if you have League Pass, but it's really fun to just root against Brooklyn down the stretch. I'm enjoying it.
I think somebody was going to get it as a Christmas present for his father, but I haven't seen it come my way yet.
Oh, all right. I'll take care of that. I can do that for you as payment for this podcast.
All right.
Since the last time we talked, the Pats I don't think have lost since we've talked, because I think I talked to you after the Super Bowl, and then we must have talked a couple times when I worked for my old employer, and now you're back, and the Patriots are 7-8 now, or 8-0.
No, they'll be 8-0 after this Sunday's game.
Oh, that was way too confident. I didn't like that.
There's a tremendous amount of excitement up here, but I have to say, up here meaning Boston, but I have to say that there's also some concern because we seem to, differently than 07-08, we really have had the injury bug. As you and I have talked on separate occasions, the offensive line, I know other teams have the injury bug too.
Yeah.
We just seem to have it centralized in the offensive line, and that's exacerbated, obviously, by the complete change of our cornerback situation.
Right.
Everybody here was assuming and hoping that they'd make a couple of deals this week before the trade deadline for both a cornerback and an offensive tackle, even if they had to give up a couple of high draft picks. But as you know, no activity anywhere.
Yeah, Belichick, he just won't make a trade unless it's the right trade.
Yeah.
He sticks
I mean,
to his
maybe they
guns.
made a couple of offers and the other teams didn't want to participate. But aren't you a little worried? You know, the schedule we've had, we didn't have the toughest schedule this year. Certainly the Denver game is going to be difficult. I think New York will be difficult.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of end of the year games with Buffalo and Miami and the Jets, and those are all wild cards. But we haven't really played that Green Bay type team where the quarterback could throw consistently at our cornerbacks, and I'm not sure how our cornerbacks would fare. And people are worried about that.
Yeah,
Are you worried about that?
not everybody's flawed. I'm worried about the blocking. I
Yeah.
thought that was one of the reasons I took Miami in that Thursday night game was I just couldn't figure out how we were going to block them. And even this week against Washington's not very good, but they have a pass rush. And I guess when your quarterback gets the ball out in 2 seconds, maybe it doesn't matter. But, you know, I'm always worried. Clearly they're going to win the division.
Right.
And they need to keep Brady and Gronk healthy out of everybody. And I don't know. The Denver game, I went from thinking that we had a real chance to go 16-0 just because of the schedule to really being worried about the Denver game because Denver looked so good on Sunday night. Their defense, they were really made a lot of stuff happen. And that scared me too, especially if our O-line's not ready yet.
Their defense looks tremendous.
Yeah, really good.
All three levels of their defense are playing extremely well. And, I had watched Manning before during the season, and he looked pretty iffy, but he certainly didn't look iffy the other night. Now, it could be the team he was playing, but he certainly looked very confident, and he obviously, like everybody has seen, he was able to throw the long ball. I think, this was kind of the situation a year ago, though, and then during the last 8 games of the regular season and the playoffs, he seemed to wear down.
Yeah.
So we might see some of that.
I'm excited for that Denver Pats game. I was excited. It's always fun when Brady and Manning play, but now, especially if there's some real reason to be scared with this offensive line over the next 2 weeks heading into that game, and it's in Denver.
It's in Denver, yeah.
I wonder if, let's say we win the next 2, but we don't look that good, and let's say Denver wins the next 2. I wonder who's favored in that game.
I would say the team that's playing at home.
Yeah, you would think, right? Like Denver by 1.5 or Denver by 2. I don't know.
Right.
Usually once a year we get points on the road, and it's always a mistake. And it already happened this year in Buffalo. So, hey.
But the other interesting piece, and there was a discussion on Boston radio during the day today, had to do with Cincinnati. And, we have, I don't know, has it happened before after 7 games that three AFC teams are all undefeated?
I don't know.
We don't play Cincinnati, but I think Denver does.
Yeah.
So something will obviously transpire. I think they play them, though, after we play them, if I recall.
You texted me the other day. You were saying there was a Brady versus Bird argument. Was that just you and your friends, or you heard that on the radio?
No, it was friends of mine who texted me a simple question that it was being discussed by a large group of avid sports fans in Boston. And
Yeah.
the question was simply Bird or Brady. And it's a tough question. You and I think, gravitate toward Bird and always will. But it's not so easy an answer. Do you think? Well,
it comes down to length of the career versus ceiling, which is always tough. The ceiling of Bird was higher. The point he hit in 86 was Brady never got to a point like that. But Brady's now been doing this since 2001. It's 2015. So 15 solid years. Bird played 9 years, missed a year, came back, was an all-star, but not the same guy, and then was banged up for the last 2 years. He was done.
Well, ironically, some of that goes back to something we talked about 5 minutes ago, which was the death of Len Bias. I mean, I'm convinced Bird's career not only would have been extended, but he wouldn't have played the tremendous number of minutes he did in 87 and 88.
Well, remember,
Same with McHale.
The internet would not have been kind to Casey Jones in 87 and 88. But with these random games in January, Bird's playing like 47 minutes. It was not good. They definitely put a lot of miles on those tires. But
but he didn't really have a bench. I mean, if you recall, Walton after 85, 86, when he came back, he got hurt again for the 86, 87 season.
I would have wanted a little more Fred Roberts. A little more Mark Akers. That was also Red kind of lost it too around then. That's when we started the Brad Lohaus type of acquisitions were happening.
It wasn't too long after that it was 4 or 5 years or 5 or 6 years when Red didn't take Tony Parker. And
well, that was way after, but the one that the red flag one was Michael Smith over Tim Hardaway. We were both confused by that one. We didn't have a point guard.
We were more than confused.
Yeah.
I remember where I was. I was at Davio's restaurant watching the draft, and you and I had talked. You had championed Tim Hardaway. I didn't know much about him, and all of a sudden, we supposedly took the next Larry Bird. He only lasted about a year, if I recall.
He's now a Clippers announcer. Yeah, I think the thing with Brady though is how long his prime is. I heard Chris Carter talking about this on the radio, and I thought it was smart. He was talking about how there's a lot of great players, but only a few, a lot of great players, and they all have a prime, like a peak. And he was like, the amazing thing about Brady is that his prime has lasted this long. I thought that was a good way to put it. Like, Bird's prime was basically, I mean, you could say it was 80 to 88, but he really peaked in 84, 85, 86, 87. It's like one of the best 4-year stretches anyone's ever had. He won 3 MVPs, and his stats were better in 87, the year he didn't win, than the other 3 seasons. But Brady's peak has basically been from 06 all the way to now. Because in 06 was the year we almost made the Super Bowl with Rashay Caldwell and Jabbar Gaffney. That was one of Brady's greatest years.
Right.
You know, and it's extended all the way through now. This is now a 10-year prime, where his stats in year 10 of that prime are as good as they were in year 1, which just isn't realistic. So, it's
an interesting argument, because there was a similar discussion on the radio yesterday where they were talking about current day quarterbacks, and that 4 years ago you might have said that Brady was the top quarterback in the league, and nobody would have expected that 4 years later you'd probably be saying either Brady or maybe Rodgers. You and I probably would say Brady is still the best quarterback in the league, and all these other quarterbacks who have been drafted, have major flaws.
Yeah.
And now he's 38 years of age, so. It's kind of funny when you watch Brady interviewed, and he says he wants to play 10 more years. He wants to be the next George Blanda.
Right.
I'm not putting anything. He could be.
Well, we talk about this sometimes when just after Pat's games. It does seem like he's mastered a certain level of playing quarterback. Like when you get the way he's able to read defenses, which I think he's better at than he was 10 years ago. I don't think physically he's the same guy, but if I was a defense, I'm not sure what I would do. I don't know what the answer is, because it's like whatever you throw at him, all of a sudden Edelman's doing a little cut out toward the sideline, or Gronk's going up the middle, or like there's always an answer. Right. And that's why I'm so excited for that Denver game, because Denver's defense is good enough to really throw some legit things at him, and it'll be interesting to see how he finagles that. Don't you feel like with Gronk, they've been very careful? Like there's never been a moment like in Fast and Furious whenever they hit the NOS button when Vin Diesel, like he needs that extra push. I feel like they've never hit the NOS button with Gronk. They're just very carefully driving him through the season, but we haven't really opened him up on the highway yet. Don't you get that feeling?
I do, but I hope that it's intentional.
Oh, I think it is.
and I'm very comfortable with them doing it that way. But I think there's a couple of things in play. As we talked about the offensive line being beat up, almost in every game in the first half, you'll see Gronk more often than not staying in to help block.
Yeah.
Then they seem to free him up a little bit in the second half. That might not be taking place if the offensive line was not dealing with these injuries. But I think the other thing, you and I talk about it all the time, every time he makes a spectacular play and he's going down the field.
You just want to fall down. Yeah,
Well,
just fall down.
I just want to, fall down, go out of bounds. Because doesn't it seem like these defensive backs over and over are going low in the knees?
Right at his kneecap.
And there's a slight part of me that stops breathing until he gets up.
I know. We had that with Ben Coates wasn't as good as Gronk, but in the mid-'90s, Ben Coates was the same thing where he would be dragging three guys down the middle of the field every time. And he was like, just go down, just stop. And then all of a sudden he got old overnight. I think he was done when he was like 31. With Gronk, I really believe that as soon as they feel like they have the game in hand, they don't run certain plays for him anymore. I don't think they want to expose him over the middle at all. I think one of their goals this season is to get him 19 straight games where he doesn't take a hit like that. It does seem like very rarely do they send him over the middle where multiple guys can go at him. Whereas the last couple of years, that was a staple play. You know, now they just send Edelman over the middle so he can take his daily headshot. I think he gets hit in the head every game. They never
He's
call
another
it.
guy I'm worried. Aren't you worried about him, though?
Yeah. Well, I think he thinks his name is Julius now. But, he takes one ridiculous hit every game, and it's like they just refuse to throw a flag on helmet-to-helmet hits on Julian Edelman. It's like it's his fault every time that he lowered his head at the wrong time.
Well, the other thing that worries me, and I don't know if it's the post-Deflategate, it's us against everybody else mentality. I wish, as in the games where it's very clear we're going to win these games and we're in the fourth quarter, take everybody out, please.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to win by 20.
More Jimmy? A little more Jimmy in there? Get a little, who's our fourth-string tight end? Get him out there?
Yes. I mean, exactly. But there's a mentality with this team that I fully understand living up here in Boston. But it really worries me when you see the way there's some headhunters on other teams, and as we talked about Gronk, boy, they're really going after him low on the legs.
Hey, just quickly, because we got to go. The Tyler Sagan hat trick in Boston, were you okay with that, or are you just so focused on Brooklyn at this point you don't even care?
No, I was very focused on. I was watching the Bruins game, and I don't know how many discussions you and I had within 10 seconds of that trade being announced.
It felt it was like the Harden trade. It was just like, why? Why are you trading $1 for quarters and dimes? What are you doing?
And why do you give up on a 21-year-old kid with those kinds of skills and that kind of talent, even if he's immature? Give him time to become more mature. Don't give up. And, you know, he's evolved into the player we all thought he would be, and we got nothing really of note back in return. So it's killing most of us who are hockey fans in Boston. Have
you been in on the Bruins, or you had to wait until the Patriots lost a game?
I'm not in yet on the Bruins.
Yeah, it feels early.
Depending on, I watched the Dallas game, to be candid, because I was curious about Sagan. Obviously, I'm in on the Celtics. I went to the game Sunday against San Antonio.
Oh, what'd you think of Aldridge and Duncan together?
Well, I hadn't seen Aldridge on TV before with Duncan. I thought Aldridge was terrific Sunday, and they seemed to mesh very well. I understand that maybe that was his best game to date for this season, but that team has a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, Kawhi Leonard took over in the fourth quarter. Aldridge was very good. Obviously, we always have liked Tony Parker. I mean, unless they have injuries, they're going to be there at the end of the season, don't you think?
Yeah. I think regular season's probably Spurs, Clips, then Rockets, and I'm sorry, Warriors, Clips, and then Rockets, Spurs are probably like right underneath. But for playoffs, I think the Spurs are built for that. And they won't care. They'll throw away regular season games. He'll play Duncan 60 times. Can you believe you're still going to see Tim Duncan play? Isn't that unbelievable?
It is unbelievable. But
and it's still
as
good.
you know, Sunday they had a special cocktail party before the game for season ticket holders who have had tickets more than 40 years.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Keep going.
Yeah, I noticed you put it on the Facebook page, and it was a very nice function, and it was funny. I read some of the comments from people who responded to seeing that up on the Facebook page. It's 43 wonderful years with terrific memories, and hopefully Ben Simmons is playing for the Celtics next year, courtesy of the Brooklyn Nets, and we're in the mix again. We're in the mix.
Yeah, they had this Hall of Fame thing for everybody who's had tickets for more than 40 years. Now,
one caveat on that, though.
Yeah, there's one caveat, and I do kind of want to get to the bottom of this, because in some cases it was families, because it would be like somebody who had the tickets and then passed them on to his kids or her kids, or they died or something like that. I feel like you have to be in like the top 9 or 10 people who have had the tickets and gone from beginning to end for season ticket holders, because what were you like? You were like 26 when you got the first ticket? 25?
No, 24, I think.
24.
I agree with you. I think there should be a Hall of Fame asterisk club.
Continuation Hall of Fame.
Where it's the same person who was sitting in that seat or whatever seat. Maybe seats have changed, but 40 years ago, I think it would be a very small group.
Yeah, because all right, so you got your ticket when you were 24. So nobody got a season ticket younger than that. Maybe you might have gotten maybe 22, but it has to be in that range.
Right.
So then at that point, now you're 68. You're gonna be 68 this month.
This month, yeah.
Yeah. So anybody who's been going to the games for as long as you, year after year after year, would have to be like around 68 and then older. Now you would see those people. You'd see those people at the games.
If they're still in the room, you're right.
You'd see them at the games. They'd be older than you, and they'd probably have awesome seats, considering like part of the great thing about having seats for that long is you keep moving up closer and closer to the court.
I did get to meet a man and his son who was at the game. His name is Andrew Marr from Worcester, Shrewsbury area. He got his tickets in 1971.
And he's been going ever since?
He goes to a lot of the games. He's now going with his son, who's starting some musical venture, and so that's the kind of person that I'd like to meet in a separate kind of event, where there's a continuity with the same person owning those seats way back when.
So you want the cream of the crop event. I guarantee they have somebody there who started going when Russell was there and is still going now. That person has to
I'm
exist.
sure so. I would bet so also.
Can you imagine having tickets to see Bill Russell in like 1968, 69, and then Ben Simmons in 2016? I mean, it brings a tear to my eye. It really does.
Me too.
Dad, good luck with the Patriots this week. Thanks for finally making your dramatic appearance on the BS podcast. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
I'll talk to you over the weekend.
Best of luck with the new podcast.
Thank you. Thanks again to Simply Safe for sponsoring today's episode. Thousands of people seeking home security get ripped off every day. Huge checks and long-term contracts with no way out. Why get robbed when you're trying to keep your home from getting robbed? Try Simply Safe. It's the best way to protect your home. No contracts and 24/7 protection for $15 a month. Less than half of what most companies charge. Visit simplysafebill.com for an exclusive 10% offer. And thanks to Porch Pies for sponsoring today's episode. It's the perfect gift for Thanksgiving or Christmas. The tastiest Southern delicacies you'll ever have. My favorite is chocolate chess. My second favorite, Southern pecan. All of the pies are delicious. They ship anywhere in America. Go to porchpies.com and order some holiday pies, for God's sakes. I've never had a better pie. Play us out, Pac.
We about this bitch. Anytime y'all want to see me again, rewind this track right here, close your eyes, and picture